Welcome to NGN Day 2015. Thank you so much for coming. And I just want to recognize that as we start out this event, the growth year over year. Some of you met Gretchen Carlson as you came in. Gretchen was part of our first panel 3 years ago. We had a room with 20 people in it. We had one satellite event, and we had overall 200 people watching. This year we have 48 satellite events. We have hundreds of people watching the stream, and we have over 5,000 people in total participating in NGN Day. So, amazing growth. And I want to recognize one of our partners from the beginning, KPMG, who today has 10 locations watching in our first event in Puerto Rico. Cool. And also I want to mention SunGuard, who also has events around the country, has hundreds of people watching the stream as far as India and South Africa. I mean, between 500 and 1,000 people from SunGuard are participating today, so thank you to them. And we have our first high school event out in Pingree at New Jersey. Sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school are watching this event with Kelly. And so hello, Victoria and Kelly, and Pingree girls. So those of you who know me know I am the queen of subtlety. So this is what we're doing today. This is how all 5,000 of us connected around the globe are going to communicate with each other and feel as if we are united together and feel the power of this event. We'd love to have you tweet what you're hearing. We'd love to have you tweet your thoughts. And this is the way, before we get to the Q&A session, that we're going to hear from all of our other events around the country. And we would love if you would also tweet during the event pictures of your events so we can see them. Last year we had 100,000 tweets. We were a top trender, so let's all be overachievers and see if we can do that again. So first I want to tell you a little bit about the new agenda. And all you need to know is we are all about women supporting women, and the simple belief that if women did support other women, everything else would take care of itself. The reason we did this event is that men have been in the workplace for centuries, and so networks are sort of a birthright for men as they leave college. But for women, it's a newer thing, and a lot of us don't feel so comfortable about the concept of reaching out to other women. So we wanted to have an event where you could be with your girlfriends, the TNA community. We will keep you engaged year after year and feel comfortable getting to know one another and helping one another. And I can tell you amazing things happen at this event every year, and please write to me after, and our summer intern wants to write your story about what you experienced today. But people find jobs, people find internships, people make friendships, they set up quarterly lunches. We even hear, the old saying, change a life, change 1,000 lives. We hear stories about people who meet people, go back, like Molly, start a networking club on their campus, get their sorority sister a job with someone they met at NGN Day last year. This just keeps going on and on. It's truly an amazing event. And I know a lot of you are here with your resumes. A lot of you are here because you need to hire people. And this is what it is all about, creating these connections. Because you were brave enough to come today. And I just wanted to tell you that this is a truism for everybody listening today, that when you put yourself out there at one of these events, you're going to meet somebody who is going to change your life in some way today. And it might be tomorrow, it might be a month from now, it might be a year from now. And you might not know at this moment. And some of you are college women, so right now the concept of 6 months seems like forever. But I tell you, put yourself out there, shake hands with everybody, and somebody you meet here today is going to change your life in some remarkable way. And that's what we're all here to do together. So, again, one more plug. Everybody tweet NGN Day. And now we're going to get underway. In order to keep the event crisp, you all have copies of the bios of the panelists and information about the new agenda. So I'd like each panelist to kind of tell us a little bit about themselves and how they got here. And we'll start with you, Hannah, please.
Okay. Just, I guess, one piece of advice, if I could give it to you guys, would be to definitely take risks. When I was in college at Notre Dame, I knew that I wanted to go into the sports world, and it was all male dominated, and so I got turned down again and again by people who said it was too much of a risk to hire a woman, or they would hire a woman over their dead body or their audience would accept a woman. And I really knew that I wanted to go into the sports field. I knew this was something I wanted, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to necessarily get there in the straightforward manner in which I want, was to get out of college and get a job doing exactly what I wanted. So I started thinking about, why don't I just get on the air somewhere and get some experience? So I actually got my first 2 jobs from want ads in the back of trade magazines. I had no connections. My first job, I literally worked at a radio station in Corpus Christi, which was a heavy metal radio station. My shift was from 10 at night to 2 in the morning, and the radio station was licensed in farmland, like seriously. And so none of you, because you're all so young, know what a CB radio is.
I know what that is.
I had a CB radio because we didn't have cell phones or car phones or anything back then. This is the early 80s. And so I would drive out in the middle of the night to the farmland, and I had to literally stop, get out of my car, chase all the cows away from the gate to the radio station, get in my car, zoom it through, get back out, and close the gate really quick before any cows would make it into the station. And when we would go down, we would lose our signal periodically. I would have to go out and crank the radio station up by hand. So, I mean, it was like this crazy, but, okay, so I wanted to be, anchoring an Olympics one day, right? But, which I did eventually. But that's where I started off. So I think you have to, I love keeping big goals in mind, and I think you should dream big. And then sometimes you have to be really creative about figuring out how you're going to get there. There's not really straight lines from point A to point B. Don't worry if all my friends had jobs, they all went into finance with nice salaries and advertising and all of that. And I wanted to be something totally off book. So sometimes there's no really set path to get there, but I would just encourage you to have an open mind and do things like answer want ads. You know what I mean? Just put yourself out there. And then out of that job, I got offered a job in Houston. But again, I saw that in a want ad, and I literally drove to Houston, planted myself in the lobby, and when the program director walked out, I was just like, hi, I'm Hannah. I drove from Corpus Christi, and will you please look at my resume? And I got hired. So, and one of my best friends, who was an intern back then, is here today in the audience, Judy Havison. And she was an intern then in college at the University of Houston, and today she has her own publishing company. And she does, her own PR company, and she does all the PR for my foundation. And so, it just shows you, we met back how many years ago? We won't say, but you can probably do the math. That people that you meet, back in the day, you are friends with. So, you never know many years later what you could be doing. So anyway, I would just say, make friends, have relationships that you sustain. Those relationships might come back together on a business level. What a blessing later. And just, again, like you're doing today, put yourself out there. So bravo to you guys. I'm proud of all you guys.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tina Lifford. And I'm an actress. And I came to be an actress because if I didn't say yes to my soul, it was going to die. My father, the only thing I ever wanted to do was to act. In school, I was always a standout. But my father told me that actors, A, don't make money, and most of them are on drugs and unhappy. And I was, and you know what? He was actually right. But that didn't leave room for me being able to create another alternative, another possibility. So for a very long time, I tried to go down a path that made sense. And I found myself working at a publicist's office, a publicist that dealt with entertainers, so I was close to the industry, but not in it, not of it. And I was literally typing on a typewriter, and I heard a voice. I heard a voice, and I'm not weird, but literally this voice, it was as clear as my voice is talking to you. And the voice said, if you do not try this acting thing, you will be 40 and unhappy. And that day, I went out and I got a trade paper, and I started looking up auditions for local theater. And I wound up getting 3 different auditions. I went on all 3, got offered all 3 roles, took one. When I invited my boss to come down and see me in the play, she smiled, and then she fired me. I wound up doing a play, and that play was with a director who soon after got his start in directing film and TV, which became my first experience with networking, because he had been telling me all along, you are not a publicist, you are an actor. And you should be following that spirit inside of you. So when I said yes to him with the play, he said yes to me just months later, and I got my SAG card, which they say is very hard to get. But it wasn't that hard once I said yes to me. Mm-hmm. And that's a really important thing, I believe. You know, in my 4 minutes, I want to tell you maybe 3 things that come up for me as really important. Number 1 is we need champions, people who are willing to stand for your dream. You know, if you are a responsible human being, if you are a person who knows what it means to take responsibility for yourself, then you must start listening to yourself, because there is a part of us that has an agenda, and that agenda is good for us, and it can't speak to us unless we are willing to listen to it. And so when you have champions who give you a space to hear yourself and to allow you to be who you need to be or say what you need to say, you've now created an environment where you get to hear and feel and explore who you really are. Very important. Another thing that I would suggest is it's really important that we each commit to personal flexibility. If, in fact, we are willing to be flexible, then we are able to take whatever path necessary to get us to our divine path, you know. But once you lay down the law about who you are and what's possible and what's right or wrong, if you lay that law down and you don't challenge it, then you only experience what is inside of that circle. And this is a big world and an even bigger universe. And if you want to experience more of what's outside of your small circle, we have to be willing to challenge what we think we know and move slowly beyond into who we really are. And I would say that the third thing would be really in alignment with that, and I think it's absolutely what NG Day is all about. And that is dare your dreams. You know, if you're going to dream, if you're going to take the time to think about and design a life for yourself, why not start with something you want to do instead of starting with what someone thinks you're good at or what someone else wants you to do? Why not start with what is in you that wants to be done? Because that's how we can fulfill the potential that is ours and ours alone. And there is, I just got to chill. There's nothing more important than being able to have a network that will recognize you and then champion that. Now, when I started acting, I went to my, first off, because I followed my dream, I hated going to work up until I heard the voice and got on my path. From that day, how many decades ago, I have never gone to work. I always am going to play. My life is my joy. But, and what I want to say is that I didn't know the importance of networking when I was starting my career, even though I look back and I definitely have benefited from network, the spirit of network. But when I, maybe just 7 to 10 years ago, as I am following another passion, I have started to meet women, and it has been amazing that these women have stepped in and been able to open doors for me when I thought I didn't have a network. So whenever you stop and plant yourself and get authentic with another human being, that is building a network, and you never know who those people are. You never know who those people are connected to, and you never know where their speaking highly of you will take you.
Thank you.
I'm Emilia. I would like to echo Hannah's and Tina's points on networking with other women and taking risks. I grew up in a family of extremely independent, fiercely independent women. My mom and my aunts instilled in me passion for education and career, curiosity, developing my own personal voice. In fact, when I was 15, now that we're talking about life experiences, my mom encouraged me to participate in a competition. It was in 1989 in Soviet Union. And I won, and I was an envoy who came to America for representing Soviet Union, meeting with George Bush Sr. It was a fascinating experience. And again, this was women, my mother, my girlfriends, who kind of encouraged me to express myself and sort of follow my passion. I would say that my career has been sort of punctured either by failures and risks, and by women who pushed me at the right moments to the right time to get my career to the next level. It was a woman who gave me my first job in this country when I was a poor immigrant and was scared and nobody wanted to take a risk on me. She was a civil rights lawyer, and she let me explore my interest in building websites in mid-90s, and that's how my passion for technology has developed. It was another woman who gently nudged me and recommended me to get out of finance, where I've been stuck for a while, from very serious world of finance into the exciting world of startup technology. It was another woman, actually fairly recently, when I, after 20 years in finance on Wall Street, as well as in technology in a very male-dominated world, I decided to join a very exciting startup where an executive, where the CEO is a fearless woman, and the executive suite is mostly female. And it's been an incredible experience working together with these women in the trenches, learning a ton from them. And the greatest thing that we actually just ended in a very dramatic exit, selling the company to a huge company. So it's been a huge validation of our effort, but also a huge validation of my experience working with other women. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, I have to follow these three fabulous women? That's not fair, Amy. Not quite fair. You know, the themes that we've heard from Hannah and Tina and Emilia are very common to what I would say about my story, but maybe a very different path, how I got there. So everything that you need to know about me and how I got to where I am in my career really starts out with being brought to this country when I was a very young girl by my very strong and beautiful mother, who decided that living in Guadalajara, Mexico was probably not going to be the optimum situation for her two daughters. And that if her two daughters were to have a chance of living their dreams and becoming who they wanted to be, it needed to be somewhere else. So when I think about the journey and the risk that my mother took without telling any of her relatives, including my father, that she was going to do this, and moving to Kansas City, Missouri, which, by the way, is not Los Angeles, California, or New York City. So we arrived there not speaking a word of English. It has not, you assimilate very quickly in Kansas City, Missouri. And I learned from her that the way she persevered, she went from being, an upper middle class woman in Mexico to cleaning hotel rooms so that we could have this. But she managed to send us to the best private school there was in Kansas City. And she always drove in us the idea that we had to live inside of a very big tent if we were going to make it. And so that idea of living inside a very big tent is so crucial to what I've done with my career. I didn't actually find my passion till about 12 years into my work life. When I realized I was a management trainee at a very large telephone company in Los Angeles, and I had done marketing jobs, sales jobs, customer service jobs, and then I found technology. And I figured out that I had a knack for being able to hear what business executives said, and I was able to translate that to technology geeks, and they were then able to turn around and build solutions that these business executives loved, and that I could translate, if you will, between technical, complex language and business language. And I said, I love this. I could make a living at this. And I have, 25 years later, leading the national technology practice for KPMG. So I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you find that passion, but when you do, you've got to follow it. So I made, after those 12 years, I took a huge risk. I guess I'm my mother's daughter, but I took a huge risk. I moved from 10 minutes from the beach in Southern California. I was a divorced mother of 2 sons, and I picked up and moved to the lovely state of New Jersey to work.
I guess we should laugh.
Which, by the way, I now, 27 years later, love the state of New Jersey and still live there.
Great New Jersey crowd, yeah.
But I took a job at a research and development firm. I had no technical training, no technical background other than what I had done on the job. And I thought, there is no way I'm qualified for this job, but damn it, I'm going to take it. And so I moved my family, and I remember coming on a very hot, smoggy June day into New Jersey with way too many suitcases, checking into a Ramada Inn, laying on the bed with all the air conditioning on and going, what have I done? What the heck have I done? And why is there no leaves here? What's going on? There's too many buildings. Anyway, it's turned into a very rewarding career for me. And, the career has had lots of ups and downs, not without failures in them. I remember there was, I grew to become the person people would pull in when these projects were in trouble. I did a lot of national programs. And I got pulled into one where 500 people were working on it, a budget of hundreds of millions of dollars. Hey, Miriam, go fix this. And I go, I can do this. I got it. I can fix this. Well, I couldn't. I got it 80% there. I got to tell you, it was a huge disappointment in my life. Huge that I could not get it to 100%. After I kind of got over feeling sorry for myself, I realized I had learned some incredible, valuable lessons. I had learned how to better manage people as a result of that 2-year experience. I had learned how to see risks much more clearly and learn how to mitigate them. But the most important thing that I learned was how do you take people with competing agendas, people with competing goals, and bring them together for a common good and a common purpose. I learned that skill in that failed project. And so here I think about how important that is. And I think about when I network. When I think about networking, I really think about this big tent that I live in and really engaging and befriending diverse groups of people. I think about being able to be with diverse thoughts and diverse people, because I think that's how you become broader, right? That's how you become a broader person, both in your personal life as well as in your work life. And I think it has served me quite well in terms of many of the jumps that I've made have been because of relationships that I have. When I first came to KPMG the first time, it was because of a girlfriend that I had that we had stayed in touch. I was still at the research and development company. She had come to KPMG, and she called me one day and she said, you should just come over here and check it out. And that was in 1999. I've been at KPMG back and forth since then, since 1999. The second time I came back to KPMG was because of a friend who relentlessly called to me for 2 years and said, you need to leave where you are and come back to KPMG. So those relationships, I think, as every one of these women have said, are so critical and so important. And I really think when you live in a world where you're with diverse friends, diverse coworkers, I mean, I made friends with the Catholic nuns in my grade school in Kansas City. Like, friends, like I used to go to the movies with them. I think all of that gives you a point of view that makes your life just a lot more fun and makes you just a much more valuable person. And it's not just about putting yourself out there, it's about drawing people in. I firmly believe we all have a responsibility to draw people to ourselves and make that tent a very warm place for other people. So I guess I'll just say that, you know, if you look back on the decision I made 27 years ago to come to the great state of New Jersey, it's worked out okay. My career's done pretty well. I'm pretty happy, pretty satisfied. I think I've made a very significant impact at KPMG. But the most important thing is I met a wonderful man who's been my husband for 25 years, and together we've done a wonderful job with our 3 sons, our 3 granddaughters, and our soon-to-be first grandson. So, and we have a house in Mexico that's not too far from where I was born. And you know what? It just shows you that if you own your life, you can make it all come back around and together.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Incredible. Everybody. See, I love the diversity of this panel and all great advice, all different types of advice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give you all a chance. We want to integrate in everybody around the country. Birmingham, Alabama, we have 70 people at SunGard. So let's hear your questions. Again, hashtag NGN Day. We're going to pose your questions to the panelists. And while we get that underway, I'm going to open up with a question. An event we do on college campuses that some of you attended is what I wish I knew at 22. We had 700 women show up at Cornell this year for that event. So I want to open that up to our 4 panelists. One thing you wish you knew at 22, Hannah.
Well, I'll keep it short because I know you guys are all tweeting and stuff, but I would say that worrying is overrated.
Yes.
And I'm a worrywart. I still do, but it really, worry in and of itself, it just doesn't change anything. And if you look back on your life and all of the things that you worried about, it is a waste of energy. It's negative energy. So I would just urge you guys, when you find yourself doing it, because it's really, you can't say, well, I'm not going to worry, like that's crazy, right? But just to really try to change your thought process around and always try to look at whatever that situation is that you're worrying about, really try to concentrate on the positives, but also really, really talk yourself into taking your emotion out of the situation, because sometimes you're reading things and they're not really the way that you're reading them because you're reading them from your perspective, but maybe not from the person you're interacting with or the company that you're interacting with. So, you know, all your setbacks, all the issues at work, I would just urge you to do those 2 things. Think about the best case scenario of what that situation could be, right? Keep an open mind. It could be this. I'm worried it might be this, but it could be this. And don't assume anything about the way that other people feel about you, and just try to pull back on your emotions. So that would just be something I wish I knew, and it's still have to work on.
I have to say, we did a Twitter party with Hannah before this event, and Hannah tweeted that, and I actually caught myself last week worried about something which I shouldn't have been worried about, and I kept hearing Hannah's voice in my head. So I hope you all 5,000 of you, or 10,000, or for many you're watching,
Doesn't change anything.
Yes, remember what Hannah said. Tina.
I ditto.
No, you don't get away with that.
What she said. I would say I am enough. To really realize that who we each are is enough to get the job done. And if we redefine ourselves, there's an acronym that in my additional passion, which is inner fitness, there's an acronym that is CREW. Creative, resilient, empowered to choose, whole, and worthy. And if we just redefine ourselves as innately creative, resilient, empowered to choose, whole, and worthy, then when we meet with challenges and that doubt and that worry comes up, we can get to the possibility by reminding ourselves that we are creative enough, we are resilient enough, we are empowered in this moment to make a choice that is self-empowering, and we come whole and worthy. So just keep moving forward. That would be mine.
I would say if you don't succeed, try again. Definitely fearlessness, confidence. I wish when I was 22 I was fearless and confident. Looking back at my career, I can say that, yeah, my career was full of failures and scary moments, but in the end, it was definitely not one straight line upward, but it was a zigzag in the upward direction, and that's what counts.
You know, I was going to say worrying is overrated, so I won't go there, except it's really overrated late at night when you can't sleep. So you should definitely not do it then, because you're just robbing yourself of hours of sleep. But the other thing I would say is take the time to enjoy all the things you're passionate about, not just your ambitions and your career. You know, I have my granddaughter here today, my oldest granddaughter and my youngest son, and they're two of the most valuable things in my life, and I think enjoy those things. I think when I was 22, I was very focused on doing and getting done. Enjoy all the other things you're passionate about and love those things too, because it will only enhance your career. It will make you a more whole, authentic person when you bring all of that to the table.
That's great advice.
Thank you. And everybody was so brave. All four of you did incredibly brave things and took risks. I mean, that's what it's all about. So we have some questions. Hannah, I'm going to start with you since you're next to me. This is from Kate in New Jersey. What initial failure ultimately turned into a success?
I would say that I had setbacks. I guess for me that's a better word than failure in terms of what I've experienced. So when I was had really one of my favorite jobs ever. I loved it so much. I was at CBS and I did the morning show. Actually, Gretchen Carlson and I were on the same show a lot for a number of years.
Oh, neat.
And so they, at the time, had their version of, you know, Good Morning America or the Today Show, which you guys are familiar with. So we had that at CBS. And I just loved that because I loved everything from like the politics, the music, the cooking, you know, everything that being a host of a morning show entailed. But they decided to make changes. And eventually what they did is they fired all of us on the show. And then as our contracts would come up, we would kind of get fired. And so, you know, it was just, you know, after it was all said and done, we kind of all realized, oh, we're all gone. So that's what that was about. But, you know, at the time, it was really hard to leave a job that, you know, I really loved. So it worked out great because I went to ESPN. That's another story. But I decided at the time, all right, I've got this opportunity. Now, right now, I'm really not working for anybody. I sort of had a game plan to go back to sports and go to ESPN, but I had this like 6-month window. I really, you know, wasn't sure that was going to work out. And I had always wanted to do two things. I had always wanted to start a charitable foundation, and I always wanted to start a production company. I wanted to be my own boss. I did not want to be beholden to a bigger company who, despite the fact that I was working hard, did a great job. They could still fire me for whatever arbitrary reason they wanted to. I mean, let's face it, you can get fired at any time for any reason, and it would have nothing to do with how good you are at your job, how hard you're working, how devoted you are, or anything. It's just like getting picked or not picked for a part or what have you. Everybody here knows what I'm talking about. So in my daughter's bedroom, I made her share a bedroom with her sister. I have 3 daughters. And I started along with my other friend here, Carmen Belmont, who was at CBS and started it with me from the ground up, a production company. And we also, at the same time, started a charitable foundation. I grandfathered both of those into my next job at ESPN. I'm super happy to say we just completed our 5th documentary film, which did really well. And thank you. And we do branded content for huge companies. We just finished a series with Ford and another one with Speedstick. And, you know, I just feel like, I don't know, sometimes in failure there's opportunity, I guess. And I should stop talking because I've gone on too long.
Always opportunity.
Our foundation has done over 25 surgeries for kids who are severely disfigured by birthmarks around the world. So I'm just saying that, you know, when things don't go your way, and they're not going to go your way, sometimes you just have to take a deep breath and go, where's the opportunity here to do something different, maybe to do something I've always wanted to do, and how am I going to take control of my own destiny? Because when things don't go well, you want to feel like, oh my God, someone took all my power. But really, no one can take all your power unless you let them take your power. You always have your intellect. You always have your work ethic. And sometimes you just got to shift over. So I would say that's a great example.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful. Make lemonade out of lemons. So, Emilia, the question from Chicago. Best advice of your life, and where did you get it from? What was the best advice, and where did you get it from?
Wow. I think I've heard people say, you know, follow your passion. I feel sometimes following your passion is a privilege, and sometimes people may not have a passion or may not know what their passion is. And sometimes you find your passion in absolutely, you know, unknown places. You didn't expect that you'll have a passion. I had a passion in social justice, but I needed to get a job. And a friend of mine told me, why don't you take up computer programming? You know, this is very practical. It was a very practical advice. You know, coming from Soviet Union, I had a strong mathematical background, so it wasn't very hard for me. And after I started dabbling in it, I found that became my passion. Over years of putting in grunt work and, you know, hard work, I realized, you know, I'm really good at it, and I became eventually passionate about it. So I'm very grateful to the person who gave me advice to sort of take something practical, and ultimately, you know, I took a chance, and it was a risk. But now I'm very happy that I followed that path.
Okay, great. So we're going to try to keep some short answers now, ladies, so we can get all the questions in. Okay, so Tina, this is right up your alley, and it's a question from the LA meetup, so it's perfect for you. How would you recreate yourself when not liking your current career?
I would get a journal and a pen, and I would write who I am. I would get really clear about my definition of myself and how I see myself. And then read that and make a second list of who you want to be, so that you get really clear on the impact that you want to make in the world. And I'm not talking about in terms of a career necessarily, but the impact that you make when you walk into a room, how people feel when they leave your presence. Who do you want to be? And then take those 2 lists and start looking for ways that you can start to implement or experience and express in that way. And you will find your way. And we all, you know, we have to get over the idea that it's going to happen in a flash. Life does not work that way. Every single choice requires effort and time, period. There are no plateaus. You get to one, and you'll have to move on down the road to another. We should just accept that that's life, and then do it.
Love it. Wonderful. Okay, question from Albuquerque. Miriam, you're up. How do you get over a failure?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you have about 24 hours to feel sorry for yourself. I think that's a given. And be a little depressed. But I think it's really about trying to look at what opportunity lies on the other side. And I think it was something Hannah said earlier. There's an opportunity from that failure. What did you learn from it? Why did you feel that you failed? For me, I described one of the projects that I was on that really led me to re-examine whether I wanted to stay with that company or not, and got me to come back to KPMG. But I also think after that failure, I was so much better at managing people, because when you have to, manage 500 people through a disaster, and you're sort of in the trenches with them, you learn valuable lessons about what human-to-human contact means. And a lot of leading and managing is about humanity, nothing more than that. So I think that there's, you got to pick yourself up, look at what you've learned, and then go with that.
Wonderful. So we have some questions on work-life balance, which is always the prototypical question about how we do all these things at once. So Hannah, I'll start off with you. How do you know when you have the right amount of time with your family and work?
Well, only you know that, right? Because that's different for everybody. So I think that you have to be really honest with yourself. I think you have to listen to your gut. I think you have to say, here's what you don't want to do. When you're at home, you don't always want to feel like you should be at work. And when you're at work, you don't always want to feel like you should be at home. So I can only speak from personal experience that I kind of looked at it like when my kid, when kids are really little, I think you have a lot more flexibility. When they get into school, you don't. So you have to look at jobs where you're going to be able to maximize the amount of time that you spend at home. It's never going to be ideal, but I know that for myself, I literally switched networks, switched time slots, and I decided when they got into school, I was only going to look at morning or afternoon jobs where I could be home when they got to school. I didn't even look at anything else, and I haven't since. So I think you just have to listen, there's going to be times when you're at work and you're miserable because you miss your kids, all right? And at that time, you have to remind yourself of the big picture, of being a role model, right? And of your kids, they don't really need you hovering around 24/7. They would rather you be gone. All the girls in this audience are like, they know what I'm saying with their moms, right? Like, oh, she left out. But I'm saying it's never perfect, but you do have to assess your priorities. And what I would do is say, what is my family priority? What jobs are going to fit into that? And you'll be a lot happier doing that than being run by your work life and trying to work your way backwards towards your home life. You know what I'm saying? Just set your parameters. Just set your parameters.
Wonderful.
Yep.
And don't feel guilty about it. And worry.
Again, feeling guilty, overrated. But inevitable.
Thank you. Tina, here's one for you from Sofia in Puerto Rico. How do you make yourself stand out and brand yourself in today's media world?
Authenticity. There is no one who can be you better than you. And if you take time to discover who you are and recognize that we all have, and I think it was Miriam. I think it was Miriam that said that we have a responsibility for how we reflect or connect with people. I think he said something like that. We do have a responsibility to be the best person that we can be. And when we show up tending to that responsibility and being authentic, we will touch people's hearts, because there's always some, I don't know how it works in the universe, but isn't it interesting that when you need an answer, when you need a certain kind of upliftment, the phone will ring, or you'll meet somebody in a line at a grocery store or whatever. I don't know what that phenomena is. Maybe they'll figure that out, you know, in another 10, 20, 50, 1,500 years. But at any rate, there is a connection, and we are always sort of vibrating as a magnet. And if we are taking care of being the best that we can be and then showing up authentically, the people who need us and the people we need, we will attract. And I believe that that's, we all have examples of that being so.
Lovely. Thank you. Miriam, a question from Lori in Minneapolis, which I think is the KPMG Monsanto event.
Yes.
How do women best network with men?
That's a very good question, because I do think that in your networking, in your mentorships, you need to have both men and women. Let's face it, most leaders in companies and in workplaces are men, and therefore you need to be able to have relationships with them. I think it has to start out, I think it's treating each other as equals and partners, right? When you're working together and you have common goals, you have common jobs, you have common roles, really being able to bridge that gap of not about the gender, but more about the common interests, the common work, and really putting out there the authentic self, to use that word again, of who you are as a human being and what you want to accomplish, I think takes away a lot of the discomfort, maybe when you're young, of trying to network with men. I think it's more about what your interests are. And I think it definitely has to do with not looking at the gender, but looking at the common interest, common work.
Great. So we have one more question, and I thought we'd give New York a chance to ask the last question. And Emilia's up. Does anyone have a question for Emilia? Who's going to be brave to ask the question? I know New York didn't expect. Oh, we have one. Go ahead, stand up.
When there are cultural different, oh, thank you. I was wondering how you network with people from different cultures, very, very, very different backgrounds. How do you bridge those gaps to get to a common goal? Is that specific enough?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think humanity and authenticity always come through. I think that's the most important thing. Yes, you know, there are geeks and there are, you know, scientists and there are business people, and New York is such an amalgamation of different cultures and countries. But it's amazing that human is a human everywhere. And as older I get a little bit sometimes nostalgic. When I came here, I embraced this culture, was very fiercely American. And now I'm appreciating my own background, and I have to say, ultimately, life is the same everywhere. You know, kindness, illness, our worries, it's pretty much universal. So I think appealing to universal principles in everyone you meet will make you a winner.
Thank you. And we could go on and on with this panel. You women are fabulous. I just want to give our 4 panelists a hand. So now, what's next? I just want to leave you with some ways you can stay engaged with this wonderful group and with us during the year. So first off, everyone take out their calendar and write out June 4th, 2016. And next year, we're going to blow the top off this thing. We're going to get even bigger and better. And I'm excited to announce that our foundation is launching a new initiative this year called STOP, which is to stop sexual assault on campus. It's been our foundation's main issue, and it stops here, it stops now. So we are doing an annual walk run, and we're thrilled. This is just kismet. We got approval Tuesday night to do our initial walk run at Battery Park City in New York City. And we're going to do satellite runs just as we do for NGN Day at college campuses around the country. So if you're a college woman here or listening around the country, we want you to do a run. Write down October 18th if you're in New York City for the main run downtown. And if you're anywhere else in the country, over that weekend, we're going to be setting up to do runs all over the country to raise awareness on sexual assault, to get colleges involved in school administrators, and we're also going to pitch to create peer leaders on campus, men and women, who will do something about this problem on campus. So watch for that and stop. So we'll get you involved in that. The other ways you can get involved during the year is to set up events at your campus or at your company. We do events at college campuses, empowering events like Wish I Knew at 22. We also have a very active blog, and we always have needs for volunteers, and we would love to hear about your experience with this event and interview you after the event. There's all information on the handout that you have. We have another social media initiative that we did with funding from the Staples Foundation, and there's information on the handout you have called the Mentor Exchange. And this is meant to be a very short-term kind of need, like I need help with a resume, I need help how to dress, I have an on-the-job conflict. So if you go to the mentorexchange.org, you'll find more information. And again, it's a short 20-minute kind of obligation. As we shut down the program, we're going to be playing a video that Gretchen Carlson was part of as well as we launched the Mentor Exchange. And now, because there's no event that can happen without merchandise, these are lovely. We have a Young Women's Leadership Council. So we are, and I know one of our board members, Tammy, is going to have something to say on this. But we are, for donations of $250 to be angel investors, sending you these lovely TNA bags. And these hats that these young, lovely ladies are modeling are for donations of $100. So with that, Tammy, I just want to, Tammy Jones is a panelist last year, if you went to our last NGN Day. And she has done a tremendous job for us with fundraising. She also runs a billion-dollar real estate company, by the way.
Well, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, do we have a mic? Carrie, maybe we could get the mic you had.
I'm usually pretty loud, but I just want to say thank you to our wonderful panelists, and thank you to all of you who have attended. You did an amazing job. The advice and the wisdom that has been imparted, I'm taking notes as well. So all of you who are here, listen. If you liked what you have heard today and you want to support us, there is an opportunity to continue to do that. So take out your checkbooks and your wallets and just help us. There's so much work to be done, ladies, and I just can't tell you enough how important it is for us to keep the cause going. So, please, fundraising is really important to keep organizations like this going. So we'd love to get more support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And now, hopefully, we'll leave you with a video. Thank you. And this is, you can swap out your bag for black if you'd prefer, but let me just see who these are. Tina, this is for you. Thank you. This one's from Miriam. If you like black better, swap out on the front. I use mine everywhere. I bring it on airplanes. I bring it to the beach. You can wash them. I've had one for 5 years. Thank you, everyone. Join us across the hallway now. We're going to take more photos and enjoy lunch and networking. Just follow across the hall. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gretchen Carlson, co-host of Fox and Friends. Well, I usually try to be a friend to young women who want to get into this business. Getting ahead in this business has a lot to do with networking and getting great advice from people who have been there. So I'm looking forward to this mentoring program to help in any way that I can.
I'm Jean Kilborn, and I'm really proud to be part of the Mentor Exchange. I think it's very important for women in particular to reach out to young women and to girls and to be mentors for them.
Mentoring can make the world of difference in a person's life. Throughout my life, I have had the opportunity to have wonderful mentors. They have shown me through their life experiences and achievements that I should think big, dream high, set big goals for myself. And through their achievements and through their example, I have worked very hard throughout my life to achieve my goals.
I love pearls, and I consider each one of you a pearl of great price. Know that I will do whatever I can to guide you on your life's journey.
Mentoring is very important in life and business as well. And I think that when you mentor someone, you help build confidence in that person. And when someone is confident, they have the ability to be successful in pretty much anything they want to tackle.
To tell them that they can do something, to tell them that they have the potential to be anything they want. Because I think it's important that as young women, we have someone who tells us that they see something in us that we may not necessarily see.
Mentorship to me is a very important relationship. As a mentor, I gain so much passion and enthusiasm from the other person that is seeking to go to the next level of their career.
I never professionally had a woman to look up to and learn from, and so I look forward to this and to gaining wisdom and to passing what I learn on to a woman that I've mentored.
Being mentored by someone who is in our field makes us the next generation of strong women.
I think mentorship is tremendously important, especially for those like myself on the academic job market. Going from graduate school to actually getting a job as a professor is incredibly daunting.
Mentorships are really important because you may have the skills necessary, but you just need to know how to apply them, and that's where a mentor comes in.
I really believe that behind every successful person is a strong, honest, and selfless mentor, and it is a gift if you find that kind of person in your life.
Join the new agenda to get women moving forward again. It's time to mentor up.
The future of mentoring, the Mentor Exchange.